welcome everybody, and thanks for your excitement and enthusiasm to join the group. It gives me a lot of encouragement when I go out and tap into my network, and the network always responds back. So I really appreciate your excitement. Obviously, I have to answer some questions as to why I have established this, what am I trying to do. So let's just get to it. All right, so what is UTPkaUTOPia? UTP is Utopia. I'm UTP, Omar Tariq Pirzada. Some of you know me as UTP, some of you may not, but UTP is basically my nickname, Omar Tariq Pirzada. And Utopia, who have heard the word, it comes from the world of idealism, and there is a vision behind what I'm trying to do. So what we'll do in the next hour, I will take you through my vision. What is it that I'm trying to achieve? I'm looking for help, obviously. That's why I have tapped into people I know. I will explain how the whole concept works. It's basically a lot of communities that are working. So I will explain that. What are the problem spaces and solution spaces that we have already identified, and how does that whole process work? And finally, we'll do introductions, which is the idea of our call today. From that, we will decide. In fact, it will be more thought process for you guys as to where you want to contribute, what do you want to do next. That's something that we will end today's call with. We'll have Q&A as we go along at the right moments in time. So first, let me share with you what happened a few years back during COVID times around 2020. There was a moment in my life, career, personal, professional, where I was losing meaning in life in terms of why am I doing what am I doing? Life is good, everything is in place, but then why am I here? Existential questions. People reach the stage at different ages in their life. Some reach very early, some reach later. I reached it in 2020, but that led to a bit of a introspection as to what I have been doing with my life, and what I have developed as skills, the experience, and what I want to do. There was a coaching exercise that I went through with some very important people in my life, and that led to a vision statement of what is it that I stand for. So UTPkaUTOPia, or UTP's Utopia, is a vision of a world where everybody is living to their utmost potential, serving each other, teaching each other, and learning from each other. Just like a vision is, it is very idealistic and optimistic. And that's the whole point. The key word here is utmost potential. So if you were to dream a world where everybody, every human that has been created reaches their fullest potential, then my belief is that they will stop taking from the world. They have nothing further to take from the world. They've already achieved what they wanted to achieve in their potential. So the only thing that they have is to give back. And hence everybody will be serving each other. They would be teaching and learning from each other. So this is really the background of it. So then I was working on, okay, what can I do to achieve this vision? And that's where I define my purpose in life, to help other people find their purpose in life. That's how I became a coach. More on that later. But I want to play my part in driving positive change towards reaching this utopian reality, so that we can all live fulfilling lives. The good news is I'm not the only one who thinks like this. We are probably a few in the percentage in the world, but there are other people who have joined me. I have joined them in various initiatives that happen around the world, where we are driving our agenda in our own small or big way, in whatever way possible. In 24, as we stand right now, it's taken me 3-4 years to figure this out a little bit to a bit more practical level, as to how do we actually make this meaningful change. There's been a lot of learning for me, some failures for me, but as I stand now, I want to refresh the approach and kind of get back to what I believe is the reason I'm alive for the rest of my life. So that's the vision statement. How this works is a combination of communities, and coming to the most important community that I believe exists is our family system. So UTP, Umar Taik Pirzada, and UTPkaUTOPIA, when we try to think about how we will actually make this happen, I'm also a community builder. I believe that the solution is not with an individual or a few sets of groups working scattered in the world for their own agendas and reasons and motivations. We actually need to combine efforts in some shape and form around a particular structure which allows meaningful impact to happen. I am a big believer in communities, and that's why I have put together multiple communities, which I will tell you about, and hopefully you are able to connect the dots as to how I think this could work or and deliver the required impact. Firstly, we have the family system. Everybody is part of a family. There is generational wisdom in our families. The generations that have gone before us, our grandparents, some people have great grandparents alive, and the current and the next generation. If we just look at three generations, the one before us, the one we are, and the one after us, there is a lot of community naturally over there just because of the system that we live in. And by the way, this I've explored and learned that is not very different in any part of the world. Every culture, every country may have their own nuances and differences, but the family system in some shape and form exists. And my belief is that the if you want to identify the right problems to solve, the highest motivation that comes is from a parent for their child, in the sense that we all who are parents or our parents have always thought about care for their children. So if they are worried about their children, then if you want to identify the right problems spaces to work in, the best place to tap in is actually the family system. And that's what we have started. So we just started our first conversation yesterday, and I'll share a few outputs from that as well. Our objective is to bring together 2 or 3 families every little while. I don't want to say every week, but every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, 4 months, 2 or 3 families come together, ideally which have a three-generational present. So there's a grandfather, grandmother generation alive, there's the current generation, and their kids. And we sit together and think about what are the different problems of the world, what are the different problem spaces of the world, and not just the world, but we broke it up into 5 lenses to go in a more structured way. The first lens that we focused on was the individual. So what is the most burning problem for me as an individual? And this question was asked to all participants of this workshop, whether they were parents, my generation, whether they were kids, or whether they were senior citizens, the previous generation. And everybody had a contribution to what is the most burning problem for them right now. The second lens that we went into was more about my family. So, or what I call the inner circle. So beyond the individual to the inner circle, there are a lot of problem spaces that started coming out as we had this discussion. Then we went to the third lens, which was what is the burning issue in my current country of residence. A lot of expatriates are in my network because I myself am an expatriate. So it was important to break the lens between a little wider than the family, but still within the country of residence. And then the fourth lens was the country of origin. So what are the problems back home in wherever we come from? And then the fifth was the world. So the idea was that we look at problem spaces in 5 lenses and come out with all possible areas where potentially there is work to be done. There are solutions that are required. And that resulted in basically a idea napkin, a series of idea napkins. Now let me go. I wanted to zoom in. Yeah. So just as an example, we looked at the individual, and you can see that very interesting and probably of little relatable problem spaces started coming out. Right from kids talking about maybe lack of freedom, procrastination in studying, lack of family time, or adults talking about motivation to exercise, very, very practical, real life, individual driven problems. And that allowed for a problem space to be created, which is impacting the individual coming from the family system. And we are all, as I said, part of the family system. I'm just showing you a glimpse of, how what came out, and the idea is to just give you a little idea of how this whole thing works. The second area we went in was then the inner circle, my family. And you can see then the type of problem spaces that started coming out were sibling arguments, kids' education, what is top of mind, the ties of kinship in the nucleus family is going away. How do we keep in touch with our culture back home? The all families were from a Muslim background and Islamic background, so there's definitely a flavor of Islam that you're seeing here. But generally speaking, this can actually be very neutral. I'm very interested to just solve all types of different problems with our world right now. We went into then actually we didn't have time to go into the countries, but that was taken as homework by the respective families. But we did jump into the world, and then the lens of the world, we ran out of space on our napkin. But the idea was that we came up with poverty, misuse of technology, materialism, and you can see a lot of themes that were coming out. And this was just three families. The power of collective intelligence and bringing people together. If we all started doing that, and it took us about maybe 2 to 3 hours of work to go through a very structured exercise of establishing the problem spaces that matter for us, matter for the next generation that's coming through. We then went into brainstorming potential solution spaces. So on one side, we're trying to identify problems at 5 different lenses, as I said: individual, inner circle, family, country, residence, and home country, and then the world. And then on the other side, we identified potential solution spaces, not really related at the moment with the problems. We had to challenge to really come out with problem spaces, but we had some structure behind it. And the idea was that problem spaces will come out of 4 areas: people, policy, process, and technology. This is just our thought of where we can start. We're obviously going to learn from others who may think there are other avenues of solutions. But to start with, we think that the 4 areas of solution, these 4 spaces of solution, will come from people, policy, process, and technology. We need another community of critical thinkers who are the creative people, the parallel and outside the box thinkers, who can connect the problem spaces to the solution spaces. They may not be the ones who actually implement it, but we need people who can think in a different way from everybody else and be able to connect this problem spaces to the solution spaces. So what you're seeing right now is basically a canvas where I've created tables. And if we are going to do unstructured brainstorming in the Miro whiteboard on the Miro canvas, then we need to bring it to some sort of structure which allows us to execute. So the solution spaces were brought out in 4 areas, as I mentioned. So the kind of solutions we would need in the people space are primarily around capability building or developing values that are probably going away, developing basic skills, again, values. So a lot of thought was around what kind of solutions we can come up with in the people space. Similarly, we then worked out, okay, what is the policy space? So we may need some change in policy. We may need to debate new kind of policy. An interesting thing that came out was there is no goodness being rewarded in the world right now. Unfortunately, we reward a lot of different things which should not be rewarded, and hence the incentivization structures in our society are not towards goodness. And that needs debate, that needs policy making, that needs public policy changes. Cybersecurity, data security, AI governance came up. Emotional literacy needs to be part of curriculums. So anything that could influence some policy becomes a policy solution space. Similarly, we then went into the process space, and we came up with basic areas of, there needs to be a system of career counseling, for example, where people get to know about all the different opportunities that are coming in the future. What are the professions of the future? We need to introduce processes of best practices around the world and maybe have a common way of doing things. If some country is doing it better, why can't another country learn from that? And why are we so put off by politicians? Because of the kind of politicians we have. Why don't we introduce a process of becoming a good politician? Because politicians are also required to be able to make things. And then there's not much on this table right now, but then since yesterday and today, and I've been thinking about this obviously, the whole process area is where we would need people like uh, engineers who can design processes, who can build ways to deliver this complex problem to solution space that we are trying to come up with. So the process area could be more than just coming up with processes, but also these engineers who can help design ways to deliver things more efficiently. And finally, we have the technology space. And the technology space is where Islam and its teachings embedded. For example, as I said, it was a Muslim group, so there was a lot of Muslim influence on our conversation. Digitization linked to best in class. What are the different type of technologies that are available which can actually solve the problems that we have brought out? You're familiar with this. We are in a tech group, so I wouldn't go labor this too much. But I want to give you an idea of how we came up with problem spaces and solution spaces. I'm expecting the critical thinkers in our group, or actually I have a larger community building, which will come up and connect the problem and solution spaces. And eventually we will start coming into some sort of structure, which is visible now on the screen. So there will be people solutionists who will be working on different problems combined with different people solutions. And each cell could become ideas which we convert into businesses, startups, ideas, etc. Similarly, there'll be policy solutionists who are working on different problems, coming up with policy solutions and developing policy changes or finding ways to make policy changes around the world. Similarly, we have technology solutionists who will be working on different problems to solve using solutions coming from technology, and similarly for process. So that's the structure behind of what I'm trying to do. All of these areas that I'm trying to build are basically communities. So if we talk about the family system, that is going to pull out the problem spaces that we should be solving. The critical thinkers will be trying to connect the problem spaces to the solution spaces that we have come out with. And then if we keep going forward, the people solutionists are the capability builders. These are our teachers, these are our trainers, these are our coaches who are going to pick up the task of, okay, so if this is the capability that needs to get built to solve a problem, then let's build a curriculum, let's influence the curriculum, let's build programs, let's build specific focused coaching assignments to be able to develop the necessary skills required in the humans to come up with fixing the jigsaw puzzle, as I mentioned. Similarly, if you go further, the policy solutionists are public policy makers. These are lawyers, these are politicians, these are legal professionals who are going to come together and influence the policy that is required to solve the bigger problems that have been identified in the problem space. If you look at the process solutionists, these are our designers, these are our engineers and architects and project managers who are going to find a way to build a process to deliver all this complexity that we are trying to build. We want to use the strengths of the different communities, which are able to then come together and deliver this larger cause that we are trying to deliver. And finally, we have you guys, the technology solutionists, which are basically the scientists. And I have been very brief in my explanation, and I left it with ... because I know there is so many types of skills that are available in the technology space. But basically, these are computer scientists, data scientists, AI scientists, etc., 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 who are able to then come together and convert these ideas into actual technology-based solutions. So that's the summary of all this in the shortest possible way that I could explain. Basically, the next steps is network and engage with community members. As I mentioned, that You are part of a community that was put together in 3 days. More than 200 people are on it now. I have brought my network, people who I thought need to be part of the tech community. I have introduced it. I have tried and got people together. Now it's up to you how you network and engage with the people here. Maybe you find some other people who could join the cause, who could contribute, who would like to be part of this. Please feel free to invite them. And whoever has put a thumbs up on your WhatsApp introduction, then I would recommend you do the honors of at least saying hello to them because they've shared interest in connecting with you. So please do that. That's part of building a community, get to know people. You might be surprised. You will find like-minded people going through similar thought processes and concerns. So I would highly recommend that. The second thing is feedback and suggestions. So it's an introductory call. I am still developing the concept, even though it seems I have reached somewhere, but there's a lot of work to be done. So I'm very open to feedback, suggestions. So please feel free to give them. Probably better if you send it directly to me rather than crowding the WhatsApp group. So very happy to do that. Learn from you what we could do better. From a practical standpoint, you can join the Miro board, which we have created. You just need to share your, if you don't know about Miro, you can just go Miro.com, create your account. You can use your Gmail or whatever email address you want, and then just share that with me. So I will give you access to our Miro board, which basically will be the place where all unstructured thoughts will be going on. We'll be running lots of workshops physically, online, different time zones. But all of that will eventually conclude on that Miro board. We will, it's a canvas basically. And the second thing would be structured planning and execution, which will be on Notion. So I can give you access to Notion as well. And that's also somewhere where we'll convert our unstructured brainstorming to the structured way of executing. So that access is available. You just have to share your email address or your account basically on Miro and Notion, and I'll get you the access. Then think about where and how you'd like to get involved. Everybody has their strengths and interests and motivations. So I would like to hear from people who actually want to contribute. And yes, a lot of people can be silent observers. I don't have a problem with that. But think about where and how you'd like to get involved. Something which motivates you, something that has something in it for you. That's very important before you sign up for anything of this sort. And obviously, stay tuned. There's more to follow. This is just the beginning. Just put together the tech community, and there are other communities currently in progress of getting created.